Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something super exciting. We're deconstructing a true masterclass in narrative pacing. We actually get to look directly at the original ending plan manuscript notes from an author who is actively building a terrifying, emotionally resonant supernatural climax. I mean, we literally get to peer behind the curtain and see exactly how abstract ideas are forged into an unforgettable story. Let's get right into it.
So, how do you actually build the perfect supernatural climax? Well, let's explore the core mechanics an author uses to turn just an abstract brainstorming session into a massive, high-stakes, clock-ticking thriller. Because, you don't just throw ghosts at a wall and hope they stick, right? No, you have to engineer a really precise collision of logistics, escalating tension, and deeply rooted family trauma.
To see exactly how this is done, we're going to follow a specific 5-part countdown framework. We've got 1. Anatomy of a climax. 2. Thursday, injecting new chaos. 3. Friday, the family reckoning. 4. Mechanics of the oracle. And finally, 5. The Saturday night trap.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, Anatomy of a Climax, the 3-day runway.
This section brilliantly illustrates what we call the rule of escalation, isolation, and the quiet before the storm. You see, the author maps out the tension incredibly methodically. First, on Thursday, minor boundaries are crossed. The supernatural elements basically stop playing by the established rules. Then comes Friday, the isolation phase, where retreat is totally cut off. Suddenly, the characters realize they're completely trapped inside the Weightman House. And finally, Saturday morning brings this dead, eerie silence before the final plunge. It's that awful psychological breath-holding right before the absolute chaos of the Saturday night seance. It's really a textbook 3-day runway that completely guarantees you're on the edge of your seat before the real climax even begins.
Moving right along to Section 2. Thursday, injecting new chaos, shattering the comfort zone.
So, what's really fascinating here is how replacing the original exhausted participants with 6 completely new people just shatters the group's established defense mechanisms. The original sitters are actually leaving for perfectly natural reasons. Basic fear, a funeral in California, and a planned trip to Europe. But by swapping them out, the author gives this haunted house a fresh buffet of guilt, grief, and skepticism to absolutely weaponize. The original characters had kind of figured out a rhythm, but these new arrivals, they completely tear up the rulebook.
It creates this absolute occult Avengers lineup stepping into the house. I mean, look at this roster. We have Adrian Russell, a seasoned medium all the way from Seattle, and Lucretia Eddy, a tarot reader with some really deep symbolic foresight. Plus, you have survivors from the author's previous work, Zelda and Didi, alongside a retired medium who actually walked away from the crushing emotional pressure of the business, and he's being watched very carefully by his protective wife. Oh, and critically, we have Lana, who stayed behind because of a massive, powerful premonition dream. Bringing all these heavy hitters together instantly supercharges the momentum. It tells us, the reader, that the stakes literally have never been higher.
Now we're into Section 3, Friday, the family reckoning, unearthing the trauma.
The crucial takeaway here is that this isn't just your standard ghost story. It's a massive family reckoning. The author really grounds a supernatural haunting in this totally devastating human reality. Decades ago, the mother's unexplained death completely fractured the family's protective shield, and that left the younger brother exposed to the tyrannical, just suffocating expectations of his ultra-wealthy father, Anthony Weightman. That pressure ultimately led to the young boy's tragic suicide. Now, 85 years later, let that sink in, 85 years, the elderly Janet Weightman is still carrying this crushing survivor's guilt. So the Saturday seance isn't just about fighting spirits. It's really about forcing a ruthless patriarch to finally face the empty, silent house that he built on the backs of his family.
Let's dive into Section 4, Mechanics of the Oracle, the Cosmic Prison. You see, every great supernatural thriller needs cold, hard logic, right? And the author creates exactly that with what's called the proximity rule. This rule is literally the terrifying engine of the entire climax. It dictates that an empty oracle book acts as a spiritual vacuum. It permanently claims the soul of whoever dies in its immediate vicinity. And actually, this is exactly how the soul of Madame Lupensky, who passed away after an earlier seance, was sucked into the pages. It's basically a predatory cosmic trap.
This fundamentally changes the whole trajectory of the narrative, because the character Lana received a dream directly from her grandmother, Madame Lupensky. From inside the book, the entire Saturday night climax suddenly transforms. It goes from a blind spiritual exploration into a totally desperate, targeted rescue mission. Our team of experts isn't just trying to survive the night anymore, they are actively trying to break an old friend out of a cosmic prison before time runs out.
And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, the Saturday Night Trap at Tragic Exchange. Here, the author designs this highly tactile, just incredibly tense ritual to free Lupensky. It's not just people sitting around chanting. It requires physical, dangerous action. Madame Lupensky is actually guiding them from the other side, instructing them to fold the ancient pages of the book in a very precise sequence. And the absolute brilliance here is the use of a crystal ball on the table as a sort of cinematic visual gauge. As each page is successfully folded under immense supernatural pressure, the orb flashes from dark violet to a pulsing emerald green. I mean, you can practically feel the room freezing, the air growing dangerously thin, as they desperately try not to make a single mistake.
But here is where this masterclass in pacing delivers its final, truly devastating blow. Just think about the sheer dramatic irony for a second. The crew totally thinks they've won this massive victory, right? They successfully pull Lupensky out of the book. But by clearing those pages, they have unwittingly created a perfect empty vacuum. They've essentially set a trap. Later that night, when 85-year-old Janet Weightman finally makes peace with her tragic family and passes away peacefully in her sleep, well, this one-out, one-in cosmic trade is going to instantly pull her soul directly into those pages the very moment her heart stops. It's heartbreaking.
This whole setup ends on an absolutely breathtaking cliffhanger. What feels like a beautiful, peaceful release for Janet is actually going to be a horrifying realization for the characters the next morning. It perfectly sets up a second volume that shifts gears from a traditional haunting into a full-blown occult heist, and it leaves us with one massive, lingering question to ponder. If a titan of industry and a house entirely full of guilt couldn't break the Weightman curse, how on earth will this specialized crew ever manage to break Janet out of her cosmic prison?